The Valorian Empire controlled this part of space for 300 years. Their ships moved through the stars like they owned everything. No one challenged them. No one dared to fight back. Fleet Commander Zethus sat on the bridge of his battlecruiser, the Eternal Dominion, and watched the empty space ahead. Another boring patrol, he thought. Another day of reminding everyone who was in charge. Then every alarm on the ship started screaming at once. Zethus jumped from his chair. His scales turned dark with surprise. The sensor operator, a young Valorian with 3 wide eyes, stared at his screens like he could not believe what he was seeing. Commander, something just appeared. Grid position 774. No warning, no energy signature, nothing. It is just there now. Zethus walked closer to the screens. In all his 200 years of military service, nothing just appeared in space. Everything left traces. Jump drives left energy waves. Warp engines created distortions. Even the most advanced stealth ships showed something on sensors. But this contact showed nothing except that it existed. How big is it? Zethus asked. 1,800 meters long, Commander. The computer does not recognize the design. The hull is made of materials we have never seen before. The main view screen changed to show the strange ship. Zethus felt his breath stop in his throat. The vessel looked dangerous even from far away. It had sharp angles and dark surfaces that seemed to eat light instead of reflect it. No decorations, no symbols, no colors, just pure function and purpose. Send them a message, Zethus ordered. Use the standard Imperial greeting. Tell them to identify themselves. The communication officer sent the message. They waited. Only silence came back. Send it again. Try all frequencies. Still nothing. The strange ship just kept moving forward, heading deeper into the system. It ignored them completely. Commander, the weapons officer said, his voice shaking slightly. I am reading energy levels from that ship. The power output is higher than our entire battle group combined. Their reactor must be enormous. A cold feeling spread through Zethus's body. Launch the interceptor squadron. Formation Delta. Get close to them but do not fire unless they attack first. I want all weapons ready. 20 Valorian fighters launched from the hangar bays. They were fast ships piloted by the best warriors in the fleet. They surrounded the unknown vessel, trying to intimidate it into stopping. It was a tactic that had worked 1,000 times before against other species. The human warship USS Defiance did not even slow down. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain John Hayes watched the alien fighters on his tactical display. He sat relaxed in his command chair, his face calm. Next to him stood Lieutenant Commander Lisa Martinez, his second in command. She had her arms crossed and was studying the aliens carefully. They are trying to surround us, Captain, she said. Basic intimidation pattern. Let them try, Hayes replied. His voice was quiet and steady. We are not here to start a war, but we are not backing down either. Helm, keep going. Same speed, same course. Communications, have they said anything useful yet? Lieutenant Kevin Brooks worked at the communication station. No, sir. They are broadcasting something, but the translation computer is still working on their language. My best guess is they want us to stop. Hayes allowed himself a small smile. Then I guess we will disappoint them. How long until we reach the colony? 4 hours at this speed, sir. Good. That gives the computer time to figure out their language. Meanwhile, let us show these people what we brought with us. He nodded to Martinez. She touched a control on her console. The outer hull of the Defiance began to change. Panels slid open. Hidden weapon systems emerged from beneath the dark surface. Rail guns, missile tubes, laser batteries, and plasma cannons appeared in rows along the ship's hull. More and more weapons kept appearing until the entire ship bristled with firepower. Back on the Eternal Dominion, every warning system activated at once. Commander, the weapons officer shouted. That ship just revealed its armament. I am counting over 200 weapon systems. Maybe more. I cannot identify half of them. Zethus stared at the tactical display. The number of weapons kept climbing. His own battlecruiser had 36 main weapons. This single alien ship had enough firepower to fight 10 battlecruisers at once. Recall the interceptors immediately, Zethus ordered. His voice was tight with fear. Pull them back to defensive positions around our ship. But sir, if we show weakness now, if that ship decides to fight, our interceptors will be dead before they can fire a shot. Zethus snapped. Bring them back now, and send an emergency message to High Command. Tell them we have made contact with an unknown force. Tell them we might need every ship we have. The Valorian fighters retreated quickly, flying back to the safety of their mothership. The human warship continued forward, steady and unstoppable, heading toward the inner system where a human colony waited. The colonists had no idea that help was finally coming. They did not know that Earth had received their desperate message. They did not know that salvation was only hours away. Admiral Krenthis received the emergency report from the border sectors within the hour. He read it 3 times, not believing what he was seeing. An unknown vessel with impossible technology, heading straight for one of the outer worlds. A ship that appeared from nowhere and ignored all Imperial authority. What is at their destination? Krenthis asked his intelligence officer. A minor agricultural world, Admiral. Outpost 73. Nothing important. Then why would they go there? The intelligence officer checked his data again. His face changed color as he found something new. Admiral, there is a small alien settlement on that world. About 10,000 individuals. They built it 40 years ago without asking permission. Krenthis felt his 2 hearts beat faster. Let me guess. These aliens match the biosignatures from that warship. Yes, Admiral. 97% probability. Everything became clear to Krenthis in that moment. This was not exploration. This was not trade. This was a military rescue operation. Someone had built a colony in Valorian space. The Empire had founded and taken control, as they always did with unauthorized settlements. The colonists had somehow sent a message home, and home had sent a warship. How many ships do we have in that sector? Krenthis asked. 16 vessels, Admiral. The Eternal Dominion and her escort fleet. Not enough. Not nearly enough. Krenthis made his decision quickly. Order every available ship to that system. I want a fleet big enough to make these newcomers think twice about fighting. And send a message to the Emperor. Tell him we might have a war starting. On the planet's surface, the human colonists did not know that rescue was coming. They only knew that their Valorian masters were acting strange. The guards seemed nervous. They kept looking at the sky and talking in worried voices. Paul Henderson worked in the grain processing building under guard. The Valorians had conquered the colony 6 months ago. They expected easy tribute from what they thought was a primitive settlement. They were surprised to find advanced technology, but they still treated the humans like slaves. Keep working, a guard said, jabbing Paul with his weapon. The quota must be filled. Paul wanted to fight back, but he kept quiet and continued working. The colony had tried to resist in the beginning. 15 people had died. The Valorians made it clear that the next rebellion would result in the entire colony being destroyed from orbit. The small defense force had been overwhelmed. All weapons were taken away. The leaders were locked up in prison, but Paul noticed something different today. The guards were distracted. They kept checking their communication devices. They whispered to each other in urgent tones. Something was happening. He looked across the room at Jennifer Cole, another colonist. She had noticed it too. They exchanged a quick glance. Whatever was coming, they would know about it soon. In orbit above the planet, the Valorian fleet gathered. 23 battlecruisers, 47 frigates, and dozens of support ships spread across the sky in a defensive wall. This was the formation that had stopped invasions from other empires. The Valorians had fought wars for thousands of years. They knew how to defend their territory. They watched their sensors and waited for the unknown vessel to arrive. The USS Defiance emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the star system. Captain Hayes looked at the tactical display showing the massive Valorian fleet between his ship and the planet. Well, he said quietly, I guess they are taking us seriously. Lisa Martinez whistled softly. That is a lot of ships, Captain. Over 70 capital vessels, yes it is. Communications, can we talk to them now? Kevin Brooks nodded. Yes, sir. The translation computer finished their language an hour ago. We can communicate clearly now. Excellent. Open a channel to their fleet commander. Audio and visual. Let us introduce ourselves. A moment later, Admiral Krenthis found himself looking at an alien face on his view screen. The creature was smooth-skinned with 2 eyes that faced forward. Predator eyes, Krenthis thought. The being wore a dark blue uniform and looked at him with calm intelligence. I am Captain John Hayes of the United Earth Systems Navy, the alien said. The Valorian computer translated his words perfectly. 6 months ago, you invaded a human colony on the world you call Outpost 73. Those colonists are under our protection. I am here to take them home. Krenthis forced his voice to stay steady. I am Admiral Krenthis of the Valorian Imperial Fleet. That world is inside Imperial territory. The settlement was built without authorization. Under our laws, all worlds within our borders belong to the Empire. Hayes nodded slowly. I understand your position, Admiral. However, those colonists are human citizens. Humanity does not abandon its own people. You have 3 options. First, you can release the colonists immediately and let them leave peacefully. Second, you can negotiate with us and discuss this situation through diplomatic channels. Third, you can try to stop me from getting my people. The human captain paused. His expression became cold and hard. I strongly recommend the first or second option, Admiral. The transmission ended. Krenthis sat back in his chair thinking hard. His military training told him that one ship could not defeat 70. Numbers always won in the end. But his instincts, honed over decades of command, told him something different. This human captain was too confident, too calm. He was not bluffing. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Zethus watched his admiral make the difficult calculations. How far could they push? What would happen if they called the humans bluff? Krenthis opened another channel to Hayes. You come into Imperial space with one ship. You make demands from an empire that has lasted 3,000 years. You threaten military action against a fleet that outnumbers you 70-1. Is this wisdom or foolishness? Captain Hayes remained perfectly calm. Admiral, humanity has a saying. Walk softly and carry a big stick. We are walking very softly right now. We sent one ship because we wanted to show restraint. We could have sent 100. You expect me to believe you have 100 ships like this? No, Admiral. I expect you to realize that you do not know what we have. Hayes leaned forward slightly. Your intelligence already told you that you cannot scan our technology. Your sensors cannot see through our hull. You have no data on our weapons, our defenses, or our engines. You know nothing about us except that we appeared in your space without warning, and we are here for our people. Krenthis felt his confidence shake. Everything the human said was true. Every scan had failed. Every analysis had come back with no answers. The Defiance was a complete mystery, and mysteries were dangerous in warfare. You mentioned negotiation, Krenthis said carefully. What would humanity accept? Simple terms, Admiral. Release all human colonists unharmed. We take them aboard and leave your territory. In return, we open formal diplomatic relations with your empire. We establish borders, trade agreements, and non-aggression treaties. Everyone walks away from this peacefully. And if the empire refuses? Hayes was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried absolute certainty. Then I take my people anyway, and your fleet tries to stop me. I will do everything possible to avoid killing your crews, but make no mistake. I am not leaving without those colonists. Not now, not ever. The screen went dark. Krenthis stared at it for a full minute. Admiral, his second-in-command asked quietly. Your orders? Krenthis made a frustrated gesture. I need information. Deploy every reconnaissance drone we have. Focus everything on that ship. Find me a weakness, something we can use if this becomes a battle. On the planet's surface, the Valorian garrison commander received urgent orders from the fleet. Move the human colonists to the central holding facility. Prepare for possible combat extraction. And most important, do not harm them. Paul Henderson and the other colonists were forced into transport vehicles at gunpoint. The Valorians were rougher than usual, more nervous. One guard struck an elderly woman named Margaret Foster, knocking her down. Stop! Paul shouted, moving to help her. A guard pointed his weapon at Paul's chest, finger on the trigger. Then the garrison commander barked something in the Valorian language. The guard lowered his weapon slowly, looking angry but obedient. Paul helped Margaret to her feet. His mind raced with thoughts. The Valorians were scared. Something had them really worried, and they wanted to keep the colonists as hostages. That meant someone was coming for them. Someone powerful enough to frighten an empire. Hope began to grow in Paul's chest. Fragile hope, but real. In the briefing room of the Defiance, Hayes met with his senior officers. Lisa Martinez showed them holographic displays of the Valorian fleet positions. They have us completely surrounded, she said. Classic military doctrine. Multiple firing angles, layered point defenses, coordinated targeting. These people know warfare. Weaknesses? Hayes asked. Their formation is designed to fight conventional ships with conventional drives, Lieutenant Brooks said. But our quantum displacement drive does not follow the same rules. We can move in ways they cannot predict. What about their weapons? Energy-based mostly. Particle beams and plasma cannons. Powerful but slow to recharge. Our defensive shields should handle them without much trouble. Martinez paused. Sir, I need to ask, are we really prepared to fight an entire fleet for 10,000 colonists? Fleet Command would understand if you withdrew and came back with reinforcements. Hayes shook his head firmly. Those colonists sent a quantum message knowing it might be their only chance to contact Earth. They were desperate enough to destroy their only long-range transmitter to call for help. They have been under occupation for 6 months. We are the first response they have seen. If we leave now, we tell them they do not matter. We tell every human settlement in space that Earth will not come when they are in trouble. He stood up. His voice became harder. We tell the universe that humanity can be bullied into abandoning its own. I will not send that message. Not today. Not ever. The officers nodded, understanding what was at stake. Prepare for combat operations, Hayes ordered. But remember, these Valorians are not our enemies yet. They are simply in our way. We show them what human determination looks like. We give them every chance to make the smart choice. And if they choose poorly, sir? Martinez asked. Hayes met her eyes directly. Then we show them what human warships were designed to do. Admiral Krenthis reviewed the drone reconnaissance data with growing frustration. The results were useless. The hull is made of layered materials we have never seen, his science officer reported. Each layer blocks different types of sensors. It is like trying to see through fog that changes every time you look. We have identified maybe 30% of their weapons. I think we are only seeing what they want us to see. What about their power systems? Impossible to determine, Admiral. The energy readings change in ways that make no sense. Either their reactor is unstable, which seems unlikely, or they use power generation technology we do not understand. Krenthis dismissed the science officer and sat alone in his ready room. The Emperor had sent a clear message earlier. The Valorian Empire does not bow to ultimatums from unknown species, but the Emperor was safe in the capital, far from this confrontation. Krenthis was here, facing the unknown, with 10,000 hostages complicating everything. A chime interrupted his thoughts. Admiral, the human vessel is moving. Krenthis ran back to the bridge. On the tactical display, the Defiance was accelerating toward the planet. It was moving slowly, almost casually, completely ignoring the massive fleet in its path. Battle stations, Krenthis ordered. His voice was tight. All weapons ready, but do not fire without my direct command. Navigation, move battle groups Alpha and Beta to intercept positions. The Valorian fleet responded immediately. Capital ships moved to block the human vessel's path. Fighters launched from carriers, forming a wall of firepower between the Defiance and the planet. On the Defiance's bridge, Hayes watched the Valorian response with interest. They are well trained, he observed. Good formations, proper spacing, overlapping fields of fire. Someone taught them well. They are also directly in our way, Captain, Martinez noted. Yes, they are. Communications. Open a channel to Admiral Krenthis. The Valorian Admiral appeared on screen, his scales dark with stress. Captain Hayes, halt your advance immediately. You are entering a military exclusion zone. Admiral, I am going to get my people. You can clear a path or you can watch what happens when you do not. Your choice. If you continue, I must order my fleet to fire. Hayes nodded slowly. I understand. But before you make that decision, let me show you something. Helm, full stop. The Defiance stopped moving, hanging motionless in space. Hayes gestured to Martinez, who entered commands into her console. Admiral Krenthis, your reconnaissance drones have been very busy for the past 2 hours. We have been tracking them the entire time. You have 47 drones deployed around my ship. Would you like their exact coordinates? Krenthis felt his blood turn cold as data arrived at his communication station. His sensor officer opened it and his face went pale. Admiral, these are the precise locations of every single drone we deployed, accurate to within centimeters. They tracked all our stealth platforms without us knowing. Hayes continued, speaking calmly. Now watch this. The Defiance's point defense lasers fired for exactly 2 seconds. 47 microscopic precision shots reached out across thousands of kilometers of space. 47 Valorian reconnaissance drones stopped transmitting at the exact same moment. The Valorian bridge fell completely silent. Every officer stared at their screens in shock. The implications were staggering. The human ship had tracked every single stealth drone. It had calculated firing solutions for all of them. And it had destroyed them all in 2 seconds with perfect accuracy. The level of precision required was beyond anything the Valorian military could achieve. Admiral, Hayes said quietly, that was every drone you deployed. We eliminated them in 2 seconds using less than 1% of our point defense capability. Now imagine what we could do to your fleet if we stopped being polite. Krenthis found his voice with difficulty. You are threatening the Imperial fleet. No, Admiral. I am educating the Imperial fleet. There is a difference. Hayes leaned back in his chair, looking relaxed. I do not want to fight you. I do not want to destroy your ships or kill your crews. But I will if you force me. Stand aside and let me get my people. Open negotiations with humanity. We could be valuable allies or we could be terrible enemies. I am giving you the chance to choose. Before Krenthis could respond, his communication officer interrupted. Admiral, transmission from the planet's surface. The garrison commander reports the human colonists are secured in the central holding facility. He requests instructions. Hayes heard the transmission through his own intercepted channels. Admiral, your ground forces have put my people in one location. That makes this easier. I am retrieving them now. You have 60 seconds to order your forces to stand down and clear a path. Otherwise I proceed anyway, and people will die for no good reason. You cannot land a ship this size near a populated area, Krenthis protested. The engine discharge alone would kill thousands. Who said anything about landing? Hayes replied calmly. 45 seconds, Admiral. Krenthis looked at his tactical display showing the carefully arranged fleet. He thought about 3,000 years of Imperial dominance. He thought about the pride of his people and the orders from the Emperor. He thought about the drone demonstration and the casual display of superior technology. Then he thought about the crews on his ships. He thought about their families waiting at home for them to return safely. Stand down, he said quietly. All ships, weapons safe. Clear a path to the planet. His bridge crew stared at him in shock. Admiral, the Emperor will not accept this. He will call it cowardice. The Emperor is not here, Krenthis said sharply. I am, and I will not send my people to die in a battle we cannot win against an enemy we do not understand. Stand down now. The Valorian fleet began to move. Ships repositioned themselves, creating a clear corridor through their formation. A path opened from the Defiant straight down to the planet's surface. Hayes nodded with satisfaction. Thank you, Admiral. You made the right choice. Now watch how humanity retrieves its own. The Defiance descended through the atmosphere, its massive bulk blocking out the sun as it approached. On the ground, Paul Henderson and the other colonists watched through windows as the enormous warship came closer and closer. Dear God, Margaret Foster whispered. Is that really one of ours? I do not know, Paul admitted, his voice shaking with emotion. But it is coming for us. I know that much. The Valorian guards had moved back to the facility's outer perimeter. Their weapons were lowered but still in their hands. Their commander watched the approaching vessel with mixed feelings of fear and humiliation. He had clear orders from orbit. Do not interfere with the extraction. The decision had been made at the highest levels of command. The Defiant stopped 300 meters above the facility, hovering with perfect stability despite its enormous size. Then sections of its lower hull opened. Beams of golden light poured down like pillars connecting the sky to the ground. Transporter beams activated, Kevin Brooks announced from the bridge. Initiating individual pattern locks. We are reading 10,347 human biosignatures in that facility. Beginning extraction sequence now. On the ground, Paul felt a strange tingling wash over his entire body. The world around him began to shimmer and fade, replaced by bright golden light. He tried to move, but his body would not respond. For a moment, panic seized him. What was happening? Then the light faded, and he stood in an enormous hangar bay. The deck beneath his feet was solid metal. The air smelled clean and recycled. Around him, other colonists were appearing in groups, materializing out of thin air. Their expressions ranged from shock to relief to tears of pure joy. A young woman in a Navy uniform approached Paul with a warm smile. Welcome aboard, sir. I am Lieutenant Amy Cooper, Passenger Services. You are safe now. We will get everyone processed, fed, and assigned quarters. Medical teams are standing by for anyone who needs attention. We are really rescued? Paul asked. His voice cracked with emotion. This is not a dream. This is very real, sir. Captain Hayes wants you to know that Earth never forgot about you. We came as soon as we received your quantum message. The extraction continued for 20 minutes. One by one, group by group, every colonist was beamed up from the surface. The Valorian garrison commander watched his empty facility and felt an odd mixture of relief and shame. They had been completely powerless to stop this. The humans had simply taken their people back, demonstrating technology that made Valorian weapons look like Stone Age tools. In orbit, Admiral Krenthis received confirmation that the extraction was complete. "The human vessel is ascending," his sensor operator reported. "They are leaving the atmosphere now." The Defiance rose through the clouds and back into space. It turned to face the Valorian fleet one final time. Captain Hayes opened a last channel to Krenthis. "Admiral, thank you for your restraint. No one died today because you chose wisdom over pride. Your Emperor might not appreciate that decision, but your crews and their families will." Krenthis inclined his head in acknowledgement. "You demonstrated that humanity is a force to be reckoned with, Captain. What happens now?" "Now we go home with our people. But first I'm leaving you something." Hayes transmitted a data package to the Valorian flagship. "Those are coordinates for a diplomatic meeting location in neutral space. Also included are communication protocols for contacting Earth's government directly. We have no desire to take your territory, Admiral. We only want to recover our scattered colonies and establish peaceful relations with the civilizations we encounter. And if the Emperor decides that humanity is a threat that must be eliminated," Hayes smiled, but his eyes were cold as ice, "then you should tell your Emperor that the Defiance is not our most powerful warship. It is not even in our top 20. We sent a medium cruiser on a rescue mission, Admiral. If the Valorian Empire wants war, we can provide that too. But I think your people are smart enough to recognize that cooperation benefits everyone." The transmission ended. The Defiance aligned itself for faster-than-light travel. The Valorian fleet watched in silence as the human warship simply vanished, disappearing without any trace or signature, exactly as it had first arrived. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Zethus approached his admiral carefully. "Sir, what do we tell the Emperor?" Krenthis considered the question for a long moment. "We tell him the truth. We encountered a new species called humanity. They possess technology superior to ours in multiple critical areas. They responded to an attack on their people with overwhelming force held under perfect control, and they offered diplomatic relations instead of conquest. He will want us to pursue them, to learn more about their capabilities and weaknesses. Then he will be disappointed. We learned everything we needed to know today." Krenthis replayed the tactical recording of the drone elimination, watching the casual display of precision and power. These humans could have destroyed our entire fleet if they wanted to. Instead, they demonstrated their capability, made their demands clear, and achieved their objectives without firing a single hostile shot. He turned to face his bridge crew directly. "That is not the behavior of a species seeking conquest. That is the behavior of a species that will defend its own to the death, but prefers peace when possible. The Emperor needs to understand that humanity is not an opportunity for expansion. They are neighbors we must learn to live beside, whether we like it or not." Aboard the Defiance, now safely traveling through faster-than-light space back toward human territory, Captain Hayes walked through the temporary quarters housing the rescued colonists. They thanked him repeatedly. They shook his hand. Some wept with gratitude. He accepted their appreciation with humility, knowing he had simply done what any human captain would do in his position. Paul Henderson found him in one of the communal gathering areas. "Captain, I have to ask you something. Would you really have fought that entire fleet for us? All 70 ships?" Hayes met his eyes without any hesitation. "Yes, without question or doubt. Humanity does not leave its people behind. Ever. That is our greatest strength and our most sacred promise. When a human calls for help, we answer, no matter how far away. No matter what stands in our way, we answer. Even against impossible odds. Especially against impossible odds." Hayes smiled genuinely. "That is what makes us human, Paul. We do not sit down and calculate the odds when our people are in danger. We simply do what needs to be done, no matter the cost." Later that night, alone in his ready room, but Hayes also knew that humanity would eventually encounter the other kind of leader, the kind who saw negotiation as weakness, the kind who believed superior firepower was an invitation to conquer rather than a reason to talk. When that day came, and it would come eventually, the galaxy would learn another important truth about humanity. They walked softly and carried a very big stick, and when absolutely necessary, they were not afraid to use it with devastating effect. The Defiance continued its long journey home, carrying 10,000 grateful souls who had learned firsthand that Earth truly never forgot its own. Behind them, in Valorian space, An ancient empire began the difficult and humbling process of accepting that they were no longer the dominant military power in their corner of the galaxy. A new force had emerged from the darkness of unknown space, and it had introduced itself with a simple but powerful message. We protect our own. We offer peace to those who want it, and we will not be stopped by those who refuse it. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage. The universe would never be quite the same. 3 weeks later, in the Grand Council chamber of the Valorian capital world, Emperor Thaldris listened to Admiral Krenthis's full report with growing anger. His scales flushed deep purple, a sign of extreme displeasure that made even his senior advisors nervous. You allowed a single alien vessel to enter Imperial space, ignore our authority, and extract prisoners without consequence. The Emperor's voice echoed off the crystal walls. You commanded 70 warships and did nothing while they mocked our power? Krenthis stood straight, meeting the Emperor's fury without flinching. Your Majesty, with respect, I prevented a massacre. That human vessel possessed technology far beyond our current capabilities. They tracked and destroyed 47 stealth drones in 2 seconds. They demonstrated precision and power that our fleet could not match. You are a coward hiding behind excuses, the Emperor hissed. I am a realist, Your Majesty. My duty is to protect the Empire and its citizens, not to throw away their lives in unwinnable battles to preserve pride. Krenthis pulled up holographic displays showing the Defiance's capabilities. Look at these energy readings. Look at the weapons count. Look at the hull composition we could not penetrate with our best sensors. This was not a battle we could win. An older advisor, General Morthen, spoke up carefully. Your Majesty, if I may. Admiral Krenthis is one of our most experienced commanders. If he says the situation was untenable, perhaps we should consider his assessment seriously. Are you suggesting the Valorian Empire should bow to these humans? The Emperor's voice dripped with contempt. I am suggesting we need more information before we make decisions that could lead to war, Morthen replied. The humans offered diplomatic contact. Perhaps we should accept that offer and learn more about them before deciding they are enemies. The Emperor was silent for a long moment, his anger slowly cooling to calculation. He had not maintained power for 200 cycles by being stupid, only proud. What do we know about human territory? Where did they come from? The intelligence director activated another display. Very little, Your Majesty. Their faster-than-light drive leaves no trace we can follow. We do not know where their homeworlds are located. We do not know how many ships they possess. We do not know their industrial capacity or military strength. They are a complete unknown, and that is precisely why we should talk to them, Krenthis said firmly. Your Majesty, I have fought in 37 major engagements. I know when I am facing a superior force. The humans demonstrated restraint and offered peace. That is not weakness. That is confidence. They did not need to destroy my fleet to prove their point. They simply showed me enough to make me understand the futility of resistance. The Emperor drummed his claws on his throne, thinking. Very well. We will accept their diplomatic overture. But make no mistake, Admiral. This is not forgiveness for your actions. This is pragmatism. We need intelligence on this new species. We need to understand their weaknesses. And when we find those weaknesses, we will determine whether humanity is worth befriending or conquering. Of course. Your Majesty, Krenthis replied, though privately he doubted the Empire would find exploitable weaknesses. The humans had been too careful, too controlled. They had revealed only what they wanted to reveal. Back on Earth, in the sprawling complex of United Earth Systems Naval Headquarters, Fleet Admiral Patricia Hughes reviewed Captain Hayes' mission report with a mixture of satisfaction and concern. The rescue had been a complete success. No human casualties, no unnecessary alien deaths, a clear demonstration of capability that would make other species think twice about threatening human colonies. But it had also announced humanity's presence in a very loud way. We knew this. Day would come, she said to her assembled staff officers. We knew that eventually our scattered colonies would encounter hostile species. We prepared for it. We built ships like the Defiance specifically for rapid response to exactly this kind of situation. The question now, said Admiral Carl Bennett, head of strategic planning, is how many other species out there are watching what happened in Valorian space? How many are reassessing their own first contact protocols? How many are preparing for potential conflict? And how many are seeing opportunity for alliance? Added Admiral Susan Clark, diplomatic liaison. The Valorians are not well loved by their neighbors, according to our long-range reconnaissance. Several nearby civilizations have territorial disputes with the Empire. They might see humanity as a useful counterbalance. Hughes nodded. We need to be ready for all possibilities. Increase patrol schedules in border sectors. Authorize 3 more ships of the Defiance class for immediate construction. And send diplomatic teams to follow up with the Valorians. If they are willing to talk, we need to be at that table. What about our other scattered colonies? Bennett asked. We have 17 confirmed settlements in potentially hostile space. If word spreads about the Defiance rescue, those colonies might face increased scrutiny or preemptive action from local powers. Then we make it very clear to everyone listening, Hughes said firmly. Any action taken against human colonists will result in immediate military response. We do not start fights, but we finish them. And we never ever abandon our people. She stood up, her voice taking on a tone of absolute conviction. Humanity spent centuries confined to one star system, dreaming of the stars. Now we are out here and we are not going back. We will not be bullied. We will not be conquered. We will defend every human life, no matter where they are, no matter what it costs. That is not arrogance. That is promise. The assembled officers stood and saluted. They understood the weight of that promise. They knew the responsibility it carried. Meanwhile, on a distant trade station in neutral space, word of the Valorian incident was spreading through the galactic community at lightning speed. Species that had never heard of humanity were suddenly very interested in these mysterious newcomers. In a dimly lit cantina, a Keltharian merchant named Vex spoke with a Drenthian information broker. Is it true? A single human warship faced down the entire Valorian border fleet? The Drenthian, a being of shifting shadows and glowing eyes, rippled with amusement. Confirmed by multiple sources, the humans appeared, made demands, demonstrated superior technology, and extracted their people without firing a shot in anger. Very impressive. Very dangerous. Dangerous for whom? Vex asked. Dangerous for anyone who thinks humanity can be pushed around like the younger species usually are. These humans are not newcomers stumbling into established territories. They are expanding deliberately with military backing and clear doctrine. They protect their colonies with overwhelming force. Vex sipped his drink thoughtfully. The Valorians will not forget this humiliation. There will be consequences, perhaps. But the humans left a diplomatic package. They offered negotiation instead of conquest. That shows more intelligence than most species display during first contact. The Drenthian leaned closer. I have been tracking galactic politics for 300 cycles. I recognize the pattern. Humanity is not here to ask permission or seek approval. They are here to claim their place among the established powers. And they have the technology to back up that claim. You sound almost admiring. I admire competence and strength. The humans displayed both. They also displayed restraint, which is rarer and more valuable. The Drenthian finished his own drink. My advice: if you encounter humans in your trade routes, treat them with respect. They are not to be trifled with. But they are fair traders and honest negotiators, according to the few contacts we have had. There is profit to be made with humanity if one is smart about it. Vex nodded slowly. The galaxy was changing. A new power had emerged from the unknown regions. Smart beings would adapt to that reality. Foolish beings would try to resist it. He knew which category he preferred to be in. Back aboard the Defiance, now docked at Earth's primary orbital shipyard for routine maintenance, Captain Hayes stood on the observation deck with Paul Henderson. They looked down at the blue-green planet spinning slowly below them. Is it strange? Hayes asked. Being back after so long away? Paul shook his head. Not strange, wonderful. We spent 6 months thinking we would never see home again. Some of the colonists were born on Outpost 73. They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching Earth turn beneath them. Somewhere down there, families were being reunited. Colonists who had given up hope were now walking on soil they thought they would never see again. Children were meeting grandparents for the first time. All because humanity had built ships like the Defiance. All because captains like Hayes were willing to face impossible odds for 10,000 people they had never met. 4 months after the incident, the first formal diplomatic meeting between humanity and the Valorian Empire took place on a neutral station in unclaimed space. Admiral Krenthus represented the Empire. Ambassador Richard Cole represented Earth, accompanied by a small delegation including military advisors and trade specialists. The initial meeting was tense. The Valorians arrived with a full honor guard, trying to project strength despite their earlier humiliation. The humans arrived with quiet confidence, making no aggressive displays but also showing no weakness. Krenthis and Cole faced each other across a conference table in a room carefully designed to be comfortable for both species. Ambassador Cole, Krenthis began formally. The Valorian Empire acknowledges that first contact between our peoples was complicated by unfortunate circumstances. We are here to establish formal relations and prevent future misunderstandings. Cole nodded. The United Earth Systems appreciates the Empire's willingness to negotiate. We also regret that our first meeting occurred under hostile conditions. However, I must be clear from the start. Humanity will not tolerate any aggression toward our colonies or citizens. The incident at Outpost 73 demonstrated our resolve on this matter. Your resolve was noted, Krenthis said dryly. It was rather difficult to miss. However, the colony in question was established in Imperial space without authorization. Surely Earth can understand that we have sovereignty concerns. We understand those concerns, Cole replied, which is why we are proposing a formal border agreement. We will identify all current human settlements in this region of space. The Empire will recognize those settlements as human territory. In exchange, humanity will recognize Imperial sovereignty over established Valorian worlds and will not expand into designated Imperial space without negotiation. Krenthis considered this carefully. It was a reasonable proposal, more reasonable than he had expected. And what prevents humanity from simply expanding in all directions surrounding the Empire? Common sense and self-interest, Cole said bluntly. Ambassador Krenthis, let me be direct. Earth is not interested in conquest. We are interested in protecting our people and establishing peaceful, mutually beneficial relationships with the civilizations we encounter. We have no desire to fight wars of expansion when we can engage in productive trade instead. Trade implies you have something we want. Cole smiled and activated a holographic display. We have plenty. Advanced medical technology, quantum computing systems, genetic engineering, fusion reactor designs, agricultural techniques that triple crop yields, entertainment media, cultural exchange programs. Earth has been developing in isolation for a long time. We have innovations your empire might find very valuable. Krenthis leaned forward, studying the display with genuine interest. Some of these technologies were indeed beyond current Valorian capabilities. And what would humanity want in return? Access to your established trade networks, maps of local space and information about other civilizations, raw materials that are common in your territory, but rare in ours, cultural exchange, tourism eventually, Cole paused, and most importantly, mutual defense agreements. Humanity needs allies in this region, Admiral. Not subjects, not vassals, but equals who can stand with us against common threats. What threats? You clearly possess overwhelming military superiority in this sector. For now, Cole said seriously. But the galaxy is vast. We have explored only a tiny fraction of it. There are older civilizations out there, more advanced than either of us. There are dangers we have not yet encountered. Humanity learned long ago that strength comes through alliance as much as through weapons. We would rather have the Valorian Empire as a friend than an enemy. Krenthis was quiet for a long moment. Everything the human said made logical sense. The Empire had been stagnant for centuries, relying on old technologies and older tactics. An alliance with humanity could provide access to innovations that would strengthen the Empire, and having humanity as an enemy would be disastrous. I will recommend to the Emperor that we accept your proposal for border negotiations, Krenthis said finally. I will also recommend that we establish trade relations and cultural exchange programs. However, I cannot promise the Emperor will agree. He is not pleased about the Outpost 73 incident. We understand, Cole said. But please convey to your Emperor that humanity is patient. We are willing to work through difficulties to build lasting relationships. We have learned that former enemies can become close allies when both sides approach negotiations with honesty and respect. The meeting continued for several hours, establishing the framework for future negotiations. When it finally ended, Krenthis found himself feeling cautiously optimistic. The humans were tough negotiators, but they were fair. They wanted peace, but they were clearly prepared for war if necessary. It was a combination the Empire could work with. As the Valorian delegation prepared to depart, Krenthis had a private moment with Ambassador Cole. "I must ask," Krenthis said quietly. "Captain Hayes told me the Defiance was not your most powerful warship. Was that truth or tactical exaggeration?" Cole met his eyes steadily. "It was truth. The Defiance is a Ranger-class rapid response cruiser. We have larger ships, more powerful ships. We simply chose to send a vessel appropriate for a rescue mission, rather than a show of force." "How many ships does Earth have?" Cole smiled slightly. "Enough, Admiral. More than enough." After the Valorians left, Cole's military advisor, Commander Frank Martinez, approached him. "Do you think they will accept the proposal?" "They would be fools not to," Cole replied. "And Krenthis is not a fool. He will convince the Emperor, or the Emperor will convince himself once he sees the advantages. Either way, we have established contact without starting a war. That is a win. And if they had wanted war?" Cole's expression hardened. "Then we would have given them one they would never forget. But this outcome is better for everyone." 6 months after that first diplomatic meeting, the Valorian Empire and the United Earth Systems signed the Treaty of Mutual Recognition. Human colonies in the region were formally acknowledged. Borders were established. Trade agreements were finalized. Cultural exchange programs began. It was not perfect. There were incidents and misunderstandings. Some hardliners on both sides opposed the treaty. But slowly, carefully, two very different civilizations began learning to coexist peacefully. The treaty became a template for other first contact situations. When humanity encountered new species, they led with the same approach. Strength tempered by restraint, clear boundaries backed by overwhelming force, an honest offer of friendship and trade, and an absolute unwillingness to abandon their own people. Some civilizations responded with hostility. They learned, as the Valorians had learned, that humanity's apparent patience had hard limits. Other civilizations responded with cautious friendship. They discovered that humans made excellent allies and fair traders. The galaxy was slowly adjusting to the reality of human presence. Some welcomed it. Some resented it. None could ignore it. 10 years after the Defiance's rescue mission to Outpost 73, Captain Hayes was promoted to Admiral and given command of the Third Fleet. His first official act was to visit the former colonists, now resettled on a beautiful world in secure human space. Paul Henderson had become the settlement's mayor. Margaret Foster ran a school for the colony's children. Jennifer Cole managed the agricultural division. They had built a thriving community, safe and prosperous. Hayes walked through the town center with Paul, observing the peaceful scene. Children played in parks. Markets bustled with activity. People went about their lives without fear of occupation or subjugation. "You kept your promise," Paul said, "not just by rescuing us, but by making sure we never have to face that situation again." The treaty with the Valorians, the defense agreements with other species, the fleet patrols, all of it. "We keep all our promises," Hayes replied. "That is what separates us from empires built on conquest. We promise to protect and we follow through. We promise to negotiate fairly and we do. We promise to respond when our people call and we always answer." Some species see that as weakness. "Some species are fools," Hayes said bluntly. "Strength without honor is just brutality. Power without principle is just tyranny." Humanity learned that lesson the hard way throughout our history. "We are not perfect, but we try to be better than our worst impulses." Paul smiled. "You know, there are children here who were born after the rescue. They have never known occupation or fear. They grow up believing that if anything bad happens, Earth will send ships to help them. That kind of security, that kind of faith in your government is rare in the galaxy." "It is a heavy responsibility," Hayes acknowledged. "Every colonist, every settlement, every human living beyond Earth's immediate protection trusts that we will come for them if needed. We cannot afford to break,